and welcome to Zoom in Africa. I'm your host, Constance Mwezi Namwinga. Now on the show today, we take you to Rwanda to learn more on how the city of Kigali has been developing smart buses that offer 4G Wi-Fi. We also look at two countries, Egypt and Ethiopia, as they continue to share their differences on how to use the power of the world's longest river, the Nile River. We visit Tanzania to hear more on how Tanzanians have been optimistic about the future before the tragic death of President John Magufuli. These and many more stories to come. Do stay tuned. Africa's transport sector has been in miserable need of attention for decades. In recent past, the city of Kigali in Rwanda has been developing smart buses that offer 4G Wi-Fi. This new program is meant to move buses around the city more efficiently.
Kigali is good to go. Tap and go. This is a new trend in the city. It has replaced cash payments in public service vehicles with electronic cards. The revolutionary technology has given a facelift to the transport industry in Rwanda's capital.
It has really helped us. Initially, the drivers hiked the bus fare, especially if they see there are many travelers. But these cards, once you load them with money, and when you come to the terminal, you just swipe and you get in. So they've really helped us.
Now less congested and more orderly, the Nyarugenge bus terminal in the heart of Kigali is proof that the transport smart system is effective. The Tap and Go project was piloted in 2014 by the AC Group. The technology company provides smart transport solutions in Rwanda, supported by the Rwandese government.
Majorly, Tap and Go was a solution that came because of the different challenges that were in public transport. And some of the challenges, of course, theft and fraud. You do not know how many people have been in a bus. You do not know how much money to ask for from the driver and the conductor. And that was a continuous problem that the bus transport companies had for a very long time.
The concept is pretty simple. Step 1, buy card. Step 2, top it up. Step 3, tap and board. Cash can be put in the card from any AC Group mobile agents in the taxi park, at bus stops, or from e-sale agents in Kigali neighborhoods. There is no minimum or maximum amount to load, making it affordable for all. The services, however, are only provided for within the city center and not beyond.
So what happens is, in Kigali, the fare on a particular route is fixed, irrespective of where you get off from. So if I'm moving from point A to Z and I stop on point D, I still pay the same amount.
The system is proving beneficial not just for commuters, but also for bus owners who can better monitor activities.
So when we were thinking of Tap and Go, we were thinking of a solution that will, first of all, solve the problems that public transport companies have, but then gradually make public transport more efficient. And the best way to do that is having reliable data on public transport. And the only way to gather data is, having a system of tracking, who's traveling, mobility, when are people traveling, where are they traveling from, how is the traffic on the routes with public transport, and that's exactly what we're doing as AC Group.
The initiative is part of the government's program for Smart Rwanda. It aims at creating an information-rich and knowledge-based economy and society by 2018. Vigorous technology adoption and startup projects has earned Rwanda a reputation as a regional ICT hub. Some of the milestones include the construction of the 4,500 kilometers of fiber optic cable. There is a One Laptop Per Child initiative that aims to provide laptops to school children to enhance technology fluency and modernize the education system. By June of 2016, 216,000 laptops had been distributed since the project began. Change can meet resistance, but Tap and Go is on the move.
At the beginning, we had a lot of people, of course, not receive the product easily, but the government had, some kind of target of having this working because they knew the benefit, and now they are actually stakeholders in the project, and we have more than 500,000 users at the moment, and the number is growing, more than 4,000 new clients every single day. Yes, we spoke to our...
Patrick and the AC Group have prospects of diversifying the card services. They can be for more than buses, but also allow for mobiles and bank payments to top up the cards. Kigali is trying to be the trendsetter for the rest of the continent. Look out Nairobi, Johannesburg, Lagos and Cairo. You could be tapping and going very soon.
Now, the Nile River flows through 6 African countries, providing livelihoods to millions of people. But 2 countries, Egypt and Ethiopia, have different ideas on how to use the power of the world's longest river.
Tractors are roaring. Men are busy at work, and the water is already flowing. The Nile is the new source of regional conflict. Nations are breathing fire for a drop of it. Ethiopia is at the advanced stage of constructing the Grand Millennium Dam to satisfy its power needs.
We have already diverted the the Nile River here in our country in order to construct or progress or continue the construction of the dam. This milestone activity is the major activity already we attained.
The undertaking will cost the country approximately 89 billion birr, equivalent to $4.7 billion. The dam is expected to be in full operation in 4 years' time. Alemayehu Tagem is the Ethiopian Water and Energy Minister.
The Grand Renaissance Dam of Ethiopia expected to generate 6,000 megawatts upon the completion.
Ethiopia's dam is the second largest power project in the continent. The only one bigger, South Africa's Coburg nuclear plant, which targets 9,600 megawatts by 2020. The project is 5 times bigger than Kenya's geothermal generation. The 1,200 megawatt Kenyan project will provide for over 30% of the country's power needs, or approximately 15 million people. Many Egyptians feel their age-old rights over the river are being violated. Tariq Mahmoud is a farmer whose lineage has been on the Nile banks for years now.
When I was 5 or 6 years old, I found my father working on the land using Nile water, and his father before him. The land that I am farming right now is from the time of my grandfather, and we've been irrigating it using Nile water since then.
As the conflict continues, Egypt vows to protect its lifeline by whatever means. The 1929 treaty, written by Britain, awarded Egypt powers over any project involving the Nile. Deposed President Mohamed Morsi had talked tough against Ethiopia's mission.
We irrigated with the Nile water. If its water lost 1 drop, so our blood will be the alternative. Our blood will be the alternative.
The country's parliament also called for intervention, including war. In case the 2 nations opt for war, Sudan could be caught in the crossfire. The populous nations do not share any borders, making Sudan the most likely base for war preparation. Egypt's citizens are also bitter.
It will make everything more expensive. It won't just be that agriculture becomes more costly, but there won't even be any water left with which to irrigate or for people to drink.
The construction of the dam is something we cannot accept. If that happens, there will be no other option other than that of Sadat. God bless him, except to attack the dam.
The Arab nation has a population of over 84 million people. It relies on the Nile's troubled waters for over 90% of its food needs. But the Nile is more than just the two countries. It is the longest river in the world at about 6,670 kilometers. The giant waters flow through Uganda, Burundi, Ethiopia, Sudan, and Egypt. It also crosses Kenya, Tanzania, Eritrea, Rwanda, and the DRC. Wubalem Fekade is the head of social development and communications at the Nile Basin Initiative office in Ethiopia.
We facilitate cooperation. As I said, we try to identify and prepare investment projects about which the countries are agreeing upon. And the third thing we are doing is water resources management.
The 11 countries through which the river flows established the Nile Basin Initiative in 1997 to manage its affairs.
The Nile Basin covers about 10% of the entire area of, of Africa, and it provides, it's a source of livelihood for over 200 million people.
Ethiopia is taking the first step at generating immense power for the realization of its vision for growth. The Grand Millennium Dam will be Africa's biggest hydropower plant. With 91 million inhabitants, Ethiopia is the most populous landlocked country in the world. It is the second most populated nation in Africa after Nigeria.
The energy demand of our economy, our citizens and social infrastructures need much power in the future. In addition to this, we are supposed to export the generated power to our neighboring countries.
This comes at a time when the US government has pledged $7 billion to bring stable and universal electric power to sub-Saharan Africa. According to the Ethiopian government, the current power production stands at 2,180 megawatts. This covers between 47 and 53% of the country. Even before any progress is made, the Ethiopia Electricity Power Corporation, EEPC, is already counting gains. Miheret Debebe is the company's CEO.
Ethiopia's power sector is designed in such a way with a long-term vision, 25-year power sector expansion master plan, then a derivative of that, segmented 5-year strategic plans.
The African Union remains silent on this conflict. However, Egypt seems to be on the losing end. Other regional states have already ratified the amendment of the age-old treaties, allowing them to use the water without Egypt's permission. For now, the world watches to see whether the two countries will use the Nile for substantial development or conflict.
We'll now take a short break, and still to come is a story of the Ethiopian children seeking refuge during daylight heat and harsh realities of the uncertain future. It is packaged to perfection, trending topics that we will be discussing to make sure you know exactly what's happening in the world of social media and, of course, our very own country.
Exactly. We don't just limit ourselves to the country, but we also move across the borders with the best in international news, policy making. We also bring experts to bring to you right information right here on The Breakfast Show.
And if you've got questions, we got you covered too. Like we said, we're on Facebook, so comment, leave your questions. We will be able to answer them. And if we can, trust me, we're gonna get somebody that can.
Yeah, join us every day, Monday to Saturday.
It's Constance and Paul.
Oh, Paul and Constance.
No, definitely Constance and Paul.
Paul and Constance.
Definitely Constance.
Paul and Constance. 7 to 9.
Hello and welcome to Zoom in Africa, where we'll bring you the continent's biggest stories in current affairs. We'll also bring you the headlines, main news stories, expert analyses, and interviews. Right here on Millennium TV.
Welcome back. You are still watching Zoom in Africa with your host, Constance Mwezi Namwinga. Now, the long wait to a faraway land, scorching heat, young, eager, and broken. That's the story of Ethiopian children seeking refuge during daylight heat and harsh realities of the uncertain future. Every month, at least 10,000 people, mostly from Ethiopia, attempt to cross Djibouti, searching for better economic opportunities, passing through the peninsula to Yemen and onwards to Saudi Arabia.
The long wait to a faraway land. Sweltering heat wrapped in fading dreams. Young, eager, and broken. Every month, at least 10 to 12,000 people, mostly from Ethiopia, attempt to cross Djibouti in search of better economic opportunities across the Arabian Peninsula to Yemen and onwards to Saudi Arabia. Many end up here, a haven of peace and joy located at the heart of the city. Caritas has been in existence for the last 67 years as a daycare center. 16-year-old Hariri Hassan is one of the at least 1,000 children who seek refuge at Caritas during the heat of day and the harsh realities of an uncertain future. Hariri is Ethiopian but has spent over a decade here in Djibouti. She has been coming to this daycare for the last 3 years.
أنا المير يعني من جيبوتي. أمي كمان حسنا أنت جيبوتي كجوجا. محن كره هاي أمي كأنت صغرتي أنت جيبوتي كده إحنا لي هاي و محن كره هاي 8 سنوات. 8 سنوات سكول كعدكتور. waxaan ku arkayaa waxay fiican aan arkay nolosha Djibouti intay fiican tahay nolosha Ethiopia waxba kama arag mana xasuusanayna Djibouti yaan si fiican u deganahay.
That good life comes Maina's official identity. Hariri lives undocumented in Djibouti, and that gives her an unfair advantage in her pursuit for a better life.
fiican yahay Djibouti iskool baan ka dhigtaa ka sagaalaad baan dhigtaa way fiican yahay laakiin maxaan ku rahay sanadan waxa la weydiinaya waraaqado ma malaynay intaan dhiganayo.
However, every morning she walks through the gates of this institution, she finds more reasons to smile and live free of worry.
aad baan u faraxsan yahay maxaan ku rahay intaan maxaan ku rahay noloshan ay walaalahay ku nool yihiin haddana walaalahay kaartaas joogo oo dhan waan u faraxsan yahay intaan la joogo aan dhex fariisto subax waliba kolkaan iskool lahayn waan iska imaada.
Francesco Mascialis is the current director of Caritas Djibouti.
We provide the basic daily services, the hygiene, the clothes, the meals, medical care, the workshops to bring them to school, to teach them how to write, how to read. And also we try to fight against some obstacles they have in their life. Prostitution, violence, and also the drugs addiction. Because they have no one in their life to say this is good, this is bad. And they have no one in their life to say I love you.
But Francesco is not working alone. The Djiboutian government is also combing the streets of its capital day and night talking to these migrants. Umar Ibrahim heads a police unit tasked with handling the young and unaccompanied migrants in Djibouti.
Les migrants qui viennent de l'Éthiopie transitent ici, chez nous en Djibouti. Ils rencontrent des difficultés, mais on prend les charges en tant que police.
We are both a country of transition as well as a country of destination. The migrants who come from Ethiopia pass here. They arrive in Djibouti having encountered difficulties, but we take care of them in collaboration with some organizations like IOM, Caritas, and UNHCR. The Director of Police, Colonel Abdullahi Abdi Farah, has set up a special brigade to protect minors in every police jurisdiction and forging better collaboration with Caritas.
Tous les enfants de rue, en collaborant avec les Caritas, on prend toutes les charges de ces enfants.
Aujourd'hui, le ministère, bien sûr on n'est pas seul, le ministère de la Femme, le ministère de la Santé, le ministère de l'Intérieur, avec l'appui de l'OIM, nous sommes en train de mettre en place une stratégie afin, la première chose à faire, c'est mettre à l'abri ces enfants-là. Mettre à l'abri ces enfants-là pour qu'ils ne se retrouvent pas dans la rue. Qu'ils soient avec parents ou qu'ils ne soient pas avec parents, il faut que les enfants ne soient pas dans la rue.
This is a stopgap measure to thousands of kids in the city who consider Caritas a safe haven. While working with the government and NGOs, international agencies like IOM are helping cross the territorial divide and address the issues from their source.
We believe that any child needs to be reintegrated back in its family unit. So we try to work on that as a priority. We do family tracing, we work with the parents, try to understand why sometimes the parents have pushed the child to go and find money. We try to reintegrate that child back home. It can happen where that child has literally grown up here in Djibouti city. And what do we do with a child who has no family link, who maybe doesn't want to go back home, who speaks maybe more Somali than any other of his native languages? So this is what we're looking at with that project funded by the EU again, is what to do with these kids.
With the children welfare being a priority, the efforts of these collaborating organizations are set for success.
Now let's visit Tanzania to hear more on how its citizens have been optimistic about the future before the tragic death of President John Magufuli.
Under the scorching Dar es Salaam sun, Majaliwa Samuel is hard at work. He is 18. He makes a living from washing cars in Dar's central business district. Dar es Salaam is Tanzania's biggest city and the country's financial capital. Samuel has been washing cars in the city for the last 2 years.
I have younger brothers who depend on me. What I earn is not enough for me.
Samuel earns an average of $3 per day. He is part of the country's 13.4% unemployed youth population. The World Bank estimates that 70% of Tanzanians continue to live with less than $2 a day. 2 years ago, Samuel left his hometown of Kigoma, 1,000 kilometers from Dar es Salaam, hoping to find work in the big city. His level of education, though, will not allow him to get a good job in Dar. The third born in a family of 5 only managed primary school, so washing cars was the only alternative. But even in these low-paying jobs, Samuel is staying optimistic that one day he will have a car wash business.
People nowadays don't bring their vehicles to town. Thus, my income has gone down. I wish someone would open for me a car wash so that I can be cleaning cars.
Across the street in Kariakor Market, vendors are trading their wares. A few years ago, these streets will be empty. The government was strict on small traders. Abdi has been a small trader for 15 years.
Since President Magufuli took over, business has been recovering. We have been allowed to put our wares here on display.
President John Magufuli seems to be popular with traders here in Kariakor. Since taking office a year ago, many Tanzanians like 40-year-old Zaharani are putting their faith in the president reputed for getting things done.
The authorities would come at 8 p.m., arrest you with your goods. If you had, let's say, 40 buckets of farm produce, they would confiscate, and when you go to claim the following day, they'll only give you 7 buckets and demand a fine to allow you to get them back. But we thank God no one comes to harass us these days.
Zaharani feels the president has his ears on the ground and listens to people who contribute to the economic growth of Tanzania. President Magufuli's no-nonsense attitude and ability to move the proverbial mountain in his early days in office has earned him the title bulldozer. In his first year in office, the president has opened at least 1,000 small-scale industries. Ali Kansachu is a financial analyst based in Nairobi. He reckons President Magufuli's radical shake-up of status quo and fight against corruption has helped inspire a fanatical following behind him.
I think there wasn't much of an intention to deal with the situation until he came into power, and that's why it had gotten to the point it had got to. And I think, you know, the average Tanzanian is looking at it and thinking, yes, you know, right behind him. So there's a lot of popular support in his drive.
Tanzania has over the years recorded strong economic performance. Latest statistics by the World Bank put the country's GDP growth at $45.6 billion, with projections of growing by 7% in 2017. However, this mineral-rich country of approximately 50 million people has at least 12 million of its citizens still living in dire poverty, according to the World Bank. With approximately 800,000 youths entering into labor force every year, more still needs to be done.
If we can unlock, you know, the human capital, I think they'll be pretty much unstoppable. It's not going to be, there's no silver bullet, it's not going to happen overnight. But I think, you know, from a leader also has to provide a leadership way of thinking, and I think that's the kind of thinking he's now providing. And also, more than that, he's sort of shaking it up, isn't he? I mean, he's moving in and firing people, and he's basically telling his countrymen, if you don't perform, you're gone.
Samuel is part of that unexploited human capital. For now, though, these traders will be waiting to see a change in their balance sheet to celebrate the economic growth of Tanzania.
Sadly, Tanzanian President John Magufuli died at a hospital in Dar es Salaam. His vice president announced this week on state television. David Doyle has more.
Tanzania's President John Magufuli has died. It was announced on Wednesday. Speaking on state television, Vice President Samia Suluhu Hassan said Magufuli had died of a heart condition at a hospital in Dar es Salaam. The 61-year-old, one of Africa's most prominent coronavirus skeptics, had not been seen in public since the end of February. Speculation was rife that he had contracted COVID-19. Magufuli had denounced measures to stop the spread of the virus and labelled vaccines a Western conspiracy. Last week, officials denied he was ill. Government figures also said Magufuli was working normally and that citizens should ignore rumours from outside the country. Tanzanian police have arrested 4 people since last week for allegedly spreading false information about the health of political leaders.
It's a tragic loss, not only to the Tanzanian people, but Africa in general. May his soul rest in peace. That's all we had for you on Zoom in Africa today. My name is Constance Mwezi Namwinga. Thank you so much for watching.